In this lesson, we'll explore the count method on a string. The count method returns an integer that represents the number of times that a substring occurs in a string. For example, let's say we have a word like queuing. Queuing is spelled Q-U-E-U-E-I-N-G. It's actually the only word in the English language that has 5 vowels in a row. Let's say I wanted to check how many times the letter E occurs in this word. Well, I can take my string and I can invoke the count method on it. The argument I pass to count is what I want to look for within my string. So let's say I want to search for the character E. It's going to give me a count of how many times that string appears. In this case, the letter E occurs twice in the word queuing. Similarly, I can check for another letter, like let's say the letter U. U also occurs twice in the word queuing, so we're going to get 2 on the right-hand side. In comparison, if I search for another letter, like Q, Q only appears once at the very beginning of the word, so we're going to get 1. Now let's try a value that does not exist. So for example, the letter Z does not exist. We're going to get a 0. And of course, as always, you have to be very careful when it comes to case sensitivity. So if I search for the capital letter Q, that does not exist at all in my string because only a lowercase q is defined on line number 1. So this will also return a value of 0. Now, there's one big caveat that I want to address here. What Python is going to look for is the complete substring that you pass in as an argument. So for example, if I search for this, if I search for the string of UE, it's going to look for a literal match of the characters UE in sequence. It's not going to be a sum of how many times U appears and how many times E appears. It's going to be only the cases where U and E directly are linked to each other or where E directly follows U. So there's going to be 2 situations where that happens in queuing. In comparison, if I search for something like ing, that only occurs once, so it's going to return a value of 1. So it's not going to be a sum of the occurrences of those characters. It's going to be the literal match of whatever it is that you pass in here. So what if you wanted to find a count of how many times U appeared as well as E? Well, what you can do is invoke the count method twice, each time with either one of those arguments, and then add the results. So if I wanted to see how many times either the letter U or E occurred in my word, I can print out the value of invoking count with an argument of U, and then adding to it the result from invoking count with an argument of E. That is going to accomplish what we want to do, which is taking both of those counts and adding them together, and that's going to give you a value of 4. All right, that's all there is to cover. In this lesson, we talked about the count method. It counts how many times its substring argument appears in the string that the method is invoked upon. Keep in mind, it's going to be a literal match, so it's not just going to count every character that you pass in a multi-character argument. It's going to count the specific number of times this exact thing is found within your string. All right, that's all there is to cover in this lesson, so I will see you in the next one.